So I know what you're thinking. Whoa, what? More on Life by You? I thought we were done with that. Well, you know, I thought we were done with that too. And it was definitely not on my bingo card that we'd have a developer speak up on the game itself. Of course, now after the official cancellation of it. So we don't really know too much about why Life by You was canceled. You know, Paradox did put out a statement, and to summarize, they basically just said that they weren't at where they wanted to be at for the release of early access. There were a lot of criticisms, and judging by the multiple delays, things just weren't progressing the way that they wanted, or I guess as fast as they wanted. I'm sure what happened was that Paradox just didn't want to dump any more money into the game. But a former developer from the Paradox Tectonic team creating Life by You shares a much different story than the one that was released in the official statement from Paradox. There seemed to be a lot of passion from this developer Willem in particular. I think at one point I even brought up how excited and how passionate he felt about the game in some of his early content that he shared on the official Life by You channel. So this developer has released a pretty lengthy post on their LinkedIn page. They write, "Today I am devastated to announce that for the second time in 2 years, my game has been canceled and I've been laid off. And this time it was a real shit show, y'all." You know, before I go any further, I do want to say this is absolutely terrible, very unfortunate, and upon first reading that the game was not going to ever see the light of day and not have an official release, I had a feeling that these developers would likely get laid off, at least most of them. You know, considering this was a team that was built for this game in particular, and I mean, we've been seeing so many gaming companies laying off devs and those working to craft new games. We're currently seeing this within Electronic Arts, so honestly, I didn't really have high hopes that they would basically transfer all of these people onto other teams to work on other games. So even though this doesn't really come as a surprise to me, it's very unfortunate. First and foremost, nothing expressed here represents the sentiments of Paradox Interactive or Paradox Tectonic. These are my thoughts and my thoughts alone. I've known for some time that we might be getting shut down. We were actively working on a hyper-moddable life sim called Life by You, an indie answer to the aging IP that is The Sims, but instead focused heavily on UGC. And as far as it goes, we were doing extremely well, and this is highlighted. I cannot share specific numbers, but I can say that we had an internal metric we were aiming for that had been approved, and that we exceeded that number by a significant portion. We also got a thumbs up a few weeks before launch. That's actually crazy that a few weeks before launch, they got the thumbs up from Paradox, but then coming up to the launch, all of a sudden, the game was canceled. So like, what changed in that small amount of time? That's crazy. Also, I'm kind of surprised by them exceeding whatever number they're referring to here, because honestly, I mean, if we were looking at polls for upcoming life simulation and what simmers were looking forward to most, I mean, for most of the polls that I've seen that had tens of thousands of votes, Life by You almost always came in last, and even their YouTube videos where they were talking about the development of the game weren't really getting that many views. Sometimes the videos were only getting a couple thousand views, and that's on the official channel. So I don't know, personally from the outside, I wasn't seeing it. I would have honestly said the opposite, but as someone here that was a part of that team and that did see those metrics, it's interesting that they share that. So I wonder what they're referring to there. They continue, then 2 weeks before launch, we were told we wouldn't be launching. And just now that we've all lost our jobs, and this was posted 2 weeks ago. We were only informed of this via a public announcement. Wait a minute, so are they saying that they learned about the fact that their jobs had basically been terminated and that they've been laid off when the public announcement that the game was canceled to everyone? They couldn't even get a private message or have a sit-down meeting or a Zoom call or anything like that. They knew that they were getting laid off when we found out the game was canceled. That's absolutely absolutely crazy. But again, that really doesn't surprise me, and it's sad that it doesn't surprise me, but that is gross. Honestly, I'm sure this same bullshit happens within Electronic Arts as well. They continue, we were not told why. Instead, we spent a month in purgatory and did everything we could to prove to them we were worth launching, including things like finding potential buyers or suggesting cutting ties and going indie. We heard virtually nothing back. Oh my gosh, I was not expecting this much tea from something like this, but wow. You know, as far as the going indie and not hearing anything back, I'm gonna go ahead and say that I'm not really surprised by that either. I mean, Paradox has invested the money into making this game, and if for some reason they were to go indie and then profit off of it, whether it was successful or not, I'm assuming that because they were to take that game and go indie and still release it for the fans, that Paradox probably either wouldn't make any money off of it or would make significantly less since they weren't publishing it. So I'm sure that Paradox didn't want anything to do with that. A game that they invest money in to then not make any money back. I mean, by canceling the game, they don't make any money back, but I'm guessing they would rather the project just be abandoned and completely discarded than to see something that they invested money into flourish, if it of course did. Again, it's shitty that it never saw the light of day. I think the game could have evolved and improved if it did have a rough launch, but you know, with support, whether it be investors or from fans, kind of like how Paralives is doing their whole Patreon thing, and they're definitely seeing a lot of success with that. There's a lot of faith in the game. There's a lot of people that are backing it, and I think that's beautiful. But even if they did go indie, I don't know how much success they would have saw, you know? I just personally don't think the interest is there in the same way that it is for Paralives currently. I mean, seeing how many people are backing them. But I do think it's a shame. I think that this could have had some sort of chance going indie. Much more of a chance than it did being completely dropped and never seeing the light of day at all, you know? So they continue, I was warned against writing anything about this experience, that it may hurt my future career, or even that legal action could be taken against me. I have chosen to ignore these warnings. Woo, you are a brave soul. I mean, we don't know what Paradox is going to do, because I know with Electronic Arts, there are probably tons of NDAs that they sign. I mean, any of the gurus that leave, you usually don't hear anything from them. I don't know how long those NDAs last, but I would not be surprised if they were to have to sign something, giving away any details about what goes on in the studio. So the fact that we're even hearing anything right now is kind of crazy, and it of course definitely does make Paradox look bad. To be honest, I have guesses about what happened, and while I can't conjecture, I'm sure you have guesses too. As a business owner, some of them are understandable, but many of them are not. We were a strong team on a strong project ready to launch to a strong audience. Really, I'd like to be much more fire and brimstone about it. I'm pretty pissed, not gonna lie, but I'm trying to stay kind and respectful. So instead, I'll say this industry has become a place in which you can deliver more than expected, have double A money behind you, and still have the rug pulled 2 weeks before launch. At this time, I will not be looking for another full-time job. Instead, I will be uplifting all of you dear people and attempting to make this industry more sustainable for all with the Indie Game Academy and the hashtag Indie Revolution. Again, I've already mentioned it a couple times. A lot of this unfortunately just doesn't surprise me. I just feel like this is how all video game corporations are on the inside. Little to no transparency, max profits, not giving a rat's tail about the developers or the games themselves. It's just all about making money, and I don't think that should come at a surprise to anyone. But of course, I wanted to share this information with you and see what you guys think about this. I'm still not surprised about the fact that the game was canceled, and I guess I'm not surprised about them being laid off and not really given a warning, but it's just disappointing, you know? These developers are people, they have families to feed, they have bills to pay and rent. It's just really, really sad. Honestly, I want to know what Rod Humble is gonna be doing after all of this, because I mean, he was a part of The Sims at one point, and this was his like dream project, his passion project, and we know they've been working on this for so many years, probably what, since the pandemic, or if I even had to guess, even before the pandemic. So the fact that all of his dreams were literally shattered in his hands, I don't even want to say that, they just literally vaporized in his hands literally within weeks of releasing. I just don't even want to know how he's competing with this, and of course what he plans to do next. Is there any way that he could continue to pursue this? Is there any way that he could take the game to another publisher? Is that even possible? Does Paradox own the rights to all of this? If he wanted to do this again somewhere else for another company, would he have to start over? Is that something he's even going to consider? We don't know, but this whole thing was just absolutely insane. Of course, share your thoughts on all of this down below. Does a lot of this information revealed here come as a surprise to you? That's going to be it from me for this video. Of course, I want to thank you guys for watching. Make sure you're subscribed and give the video a thumbs up, and I'll see you all next time. So long and happy life simming, guys.